Episode 34 of the UnWoke Show, where free speech is welcome, all subjects are on the table, and your boys Rich and Tim bring you the latest information every single week for your enjoyment, baby. I'm your co-host Rich, along with my co-host over here. How you doing, Timmy?
Good, and you, Rich?
Doing great. Hey guys, we are so happy being here to see you guys are definitely listening, tuning in, and everything. So we actually want to give a good shout out. We just found out, looking at some of our numbers, and it seems like we're looking at some good numbers out of Illinois, and it's Illinois, not Illinois. Okay, come on now, take off the S. Yeah. So yeah, silent. Yeah, extra silence. So I'll give a shout out to all you guys down there in Chi-Town and probably even way down there in the Central, and also for listening. We definitely appreciate you guys for checking out our show. Hey guys, as always, we want to hear from you. Maybe there's some topics out there that you have in mind that you want us to cover and on. I know you guys are really enjoying the topics that we've had. I mean, obviously we now have 34 episodes now, and you know, and obviously many more coming, and also, but definitely give us a shout out, guys. You know, I mean, please reach out to us at UnWoke the Show, and also make sure we're doing feedback at unwoketheshow.com. Well, once again, that's feedback at unwoketheshow.com. You can also reach us, check us out on Spotify. Definitely, you know, hit that like button. You know, definitely subscribe to our show on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and also we have different places you guys can hear us where, so you will never miss an episode. And also, thanks again, guys, for being a part of it. We are definitely excited about tonight's show.
Absolutely. Guys, we're also out there in the world of Twitter or X or however you want to call it. We are at UnWoke the Show out on Twitter. So if you want to go check us out, you'll find us out there. We've got all sorts of interesting insights and comments on, well, let's just say comments on really stupid posts that show up in the world. But if you're interested in interacting with us, you can reach us there again out on Twitter or X or however you pronounce it. It's at UnWoke the Show. And, you know, as my partner stated, we are always interested in your feedback, and you can reach us at feedback at unwoketheshow.com. That is feedback at unwoketheshow.com. And Rich, I think you're going to kick us off tonight, right?
Yep, kicking you off, and also definitely want to give a comment how you said about we're always looking for stuff on Twitter and everything. Yes, we are definitely trying to study and get a degree in stupiology.
Yes.
You know, so
that is Twitter or X, again, is however you call it. Plenty of interesting and stupid all mixed in out there. So again, reach out to us there at Twitter or X at UnWoke the Show.
All right, guys, so tonight's episode, where you know, I've been really thinking about this late, you know, as many of you guys out there in UnWoke Nation all across the world, you've seen a lot of protesting, different things like that, or, you know, people talking about different countries and nations and stuff like so. But what's really gotten my crawl tonight is really trying to understand, and actually Tim and I, we were working out, and it just kind of came across me as I was, you know, just like him, you know, looking on Twitter and X and all these other news sources where that are out there, you know, or you want to call it that. And it just kind of gave me this question about how people, and it seems in my opinion about how people are feeling, you know, recently about patriotism.
Okay.
And about, you know, not only just patriotism, but also, you know, just how people in general might feel about that word, but also the definition when it comes to nationalism. Now, I know recently where it seems like there's been a lot of people, you know, talking about these different things and, you know, what do you believe in and stuff when it comes to your nation. So I want to do a little bit of research right here because, you know, what I was finding out, and I was able to discuss this with Tim too, is that it seems like we're really getting this stuff intertwined between patriotism and nationalism. Yep. So I did some research on just kind of make sure so that people understand exactly where I'm coming from here. So, you know, the definition of nationalism basically said, and just kind of give you some good bullet points here. So nationalism basically is a belief that one's nation is superior to others, according to what this says. There's a strong identification with one's nation, asserting superiority over other nations, and a devotion to only one group of people over others. Now, I know that we've been hearing a lot about that, and it seems like, and Tim made a great point where the other day when we were discussing possible show topics, you know, about how there's a connection when people normally hear nationalism and what we hear from the media, where they normally try to think a lot of right-wing type of thoughts. And also, would you still agree with that, Tim?
Yeah, like your so-called white nationalists or, you know, other factions, if you will, that are out there in the world. It's patriotism and nationalism have almost been bastardized in a way. Right?
Yeah.
It feels like patriotism is almost being absorbed into nationalism, right? This notion of self-interest, our interests at home matter more than the interests around the world, right? Whereas being a patriot or being patriotic, showing that you're proud of your country, right? And that notion of being proud, being patriotic, demonstrating patriotism, is now being viewed almost, I would say, to the point of being wrong.
You know what? I'll take one word more than that. I'll say vilified.
I would agree with that. I think there's a lot of people out there who are questioning patriotic individuals and are looking at from the standpoint of how can you be patriotic about our country when you have all these issues going on with our own country. Newsflash, folks, there isn't a country out there that doesn't have issues.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's no utopia country out there. I don't care how great the government or the economy is, something like that. Every country has problems. Now, when we look at the recent situations when it comes to like the immigration stuff like that, I mean, of course, there's other countries that might have better opportunities,
right?
But it doesn't mean that country doesn't have issues,
right? I think look at the Women's World Cup.
Yes.
Okay. It didn't seem, even within our own country, very patriotic that people were rooting against our own country. And then when I say people, I'm talking about our own country was rooting against the Women's World Cup team.
Mm-hmm.
But then what had happened is politics had intervened.
Yes.
And it just became a giant shit show.
Yeah.
And so at that point, patriotism just went out the window.
No, and you're absolutely right about that. Tim, you and I have been sports fans where, all our lives.
Right.
And, we've seen everything from the World Cup to, Super Bowls, stuff like that. But I would say, because I think that was just past summer. And also,
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this was the first time, as many times I've seen Olympics where I think my first ever Olympics I ever saw in my life was probably 1988 in Calgary. And I was probably like 9 or 10 years old. And I remember seeing how proud the athletes were, coming in and waving their flags and wearing, everybody's wearing their uniforms. They're going through the opening ceremonies, stuff like that. This was the first time this past summer. Was the first time, as I agree with Tim and also, because I'm a little bit more into soccer than maybe Tim might be and all, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you want to be there for your country.
Right.
But I've never seen so many people, and it wasn't just people talking out there on Woke Nation. This is people who are commenting on social media. So they're saying, like, they couldn't wait to watch the United States lose. And the United States has won, 3? They won the last 2 World Cups. They've won 3 of the last 5.
Right.
And also, they're considered basically like, pretty much you could say the Yankees of women's international soccer.
Yeah, and you even had soccer commentators on there.
Oh, Alexi Lawless, he did not, he made sure his feelings were set. I mean, Alexi Lawless, who was for the guys that are outside the country, and he is a well-known soccer commentator and reporter and stuff like that. He used to play for the U.S. national team back in the 90s and stuff like that. But he is known for not holding his tongue, and he made it quite clear. In fact, I think, Carly Lloyd, if I think I understand, who's a former player too, after the first game, she made it quite clear. It's like, look, and I'm paraphrasing here, but basically she was saying, all this other political crap that's going on,
right,
you guys need to stop this and start focusing on actually winning games. Now, this actually goes back to the previous one, because if you don't remember, when they won the World Cup, their captain at that time, or maybe one of their captains right there, so Mega Raponi, you know, so when they got done winning it, and I don't know if some of you guys might have saw this or internationally, but there was a player who came up with the American flag, and she basically threw it on the pitch. And I mean, the entire country was watching this,
right?
Which I'm pretty sure to where people were in awe, but there were two players who were younger players now, but they're probably older now, so that's every 4 years. But they picked up the flag, and those two players who were very young got so much recognition,
right,
and so much applaud for doing that, and it's the reason why, you know, you look at the way with Mega Raponi now. I mean, that's all it was about. I mean, this is a girl where she came in the first game where she did absolutely shit.
Yeah.
Did absolutely nothing. And then we just had a week ago, she just played her final professional game, and within 3 minutes, I think she injured herself. Would you like to know the Twitters like that? People are just sitting over there saying like, hey, you know what? You know, Payback's a stripper, or her stage name is Karma.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, so now of course it's like, but that's just the point. It's like, I agree with. It's like, I've never seen as much as I've seen international sports. I've never seen an entire country truly cheering for the other country.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's not, and so I mean, it's just. Well, let's take that one step further. We got the Olympics coming up.
Yeah, France.
In 2024.
Vive la France.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what our patriotism looks like that with the Summer Olympics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But according to dictionary.com, it says here that modern nationalism is rooted in part in French and American revolutions that fought for the sovereignty of their people over monarchies. The historic nationalism is generally viewed favorably, a cornerstone of Western liberalism and democracy. However, and I think this is key here, and I think this is a lot of what is going on within our own society, fascist regimes.
Okay.
So the extreme left, the extreme right, Proud Boy, you know, all of these, what I would call factions. Right? Fascist regimes have merged the fervor of nationalism with the notions of superiority. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Charlottesville.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Jews will not replace us.
Yep, yeah, I remember the marching. You're right.
Especially when it comes to ethnicity and religion. Mm-hmm. Again, Jews will not replace us, right? That type of thing.
Right.
In such context, patriots can become those who happen to agree with you or look like you, and traitors those who do not. Yeah,
so it makes it sound like that. In other words, patriotism can take down certain roads, okay? But I guess what I'm trying to do is, like, you know, when I look at the patriotism, it says, you know, the definite saying based on one's love and devotion to our country. The problem that I'm having is I'm a person who's very, very proud to be an American. Mm-hmm. Okay, I wave American flag every time I get a chance to see a veteran or I see somebody who is active service. And once again, shout out to all you guys who are serving in the U.S. military, no matter where you are in the world. We love you.
Hope you guys had a great Veterans Day.
Awesome.
Thank you for your service. We really appreciate it.
Yep. Happy birthday, Marines out there too.
Amen.
But you know what? It's like, you know, when I think about that and I show all the sacrifices that they have, and then I hear, you know, these dumb fucks out there that want to sit there and put down the country and make all these soldiers and also feel bad because they were willing to say, hey, I'm going to go and I'm willing to lose my life to defend the country.
Right.
You know, so I take pride in the history that we have. Is it perfect? No.
No.
You know, so but I take pride in that. You know, so. And when I'm seeing all these people and I saw somebody who did a video and I thought it was like, it's like, no, basically I would say these trend protesters, you know, these trend protesters out there.
Protesting what's the hot topic.
Exactly. What's the hot topic? Oh yeah, okay, let's go and do that. And also know absolutely nothing about it and everything about it, you know, just fuck nuts. But anyway.
Sounds like our elite colleges, right? In the last episode we talked about how they all signed on to this list protesting in support of Palestine, and they saw, and all these universities saw the backlash, and like 3/4 of them were, I really didn't read.
Yeah,
signing my name. Right. I mean, I think that's to your point right there.
Right.
But following the statement that I made a second ago, right, where it says, in such context, patriots can become those who happen to agree with you or look like you, and traitors those who don't. I think this gets to a point that you and I talked about off air, Rich, earlier this week, where this form of nationalism, right, it is morphed. This form of nationalism is what happens when patriotism gets out of hand and morphs into something more exclusionary, isolationist, and, well, chauvinist. Again, there's that bastardization of patriotism, right? That
yes.
I'm going to pound my chest. I love this country. Now, nationalism steps in and takes it one step further, and the notion of being patriotic or demonstrating patriotism all of a sudden gets lost in the fold, and now all of a sudden you're getting lumped in as a nationalist.
Right, and that's what I was bringing up to you, the other day when we were talking about this. It's like you just have this unfair intertwining that's going on. And I did a little bit more research too, and you guys can definitely check this out, but there's a website out there that's called listfirst.com. And I came across an article from a guy named Steve Gilman, and also that says the 10 unavoidable arguments against patriotism. And it was, quote, fact-checked by Jamie Fraster. Yeah. So, as I mentioned, they already had 10 of them, but I want to go ahead and read you guys at Uncle Nation some of the things that I thought was really, really interesting that I thought of these 10 this Mr. Gilman came up with. So, one of them was actually number 9, and it says, may discourage useful political involvement. And according to this article, what he's saying is that the supposed research discloses what they call uncritical patriotism or uncritical patriots. Mm-hmm. And the article basically describes that to them that people who are considered uncritical patriots tend to have more lower levels of political information, interest, and involvement of others. Mm-hmm. So I found the thing was about that, especially when it talks about having lower levels of political information. We see this all over this country.
Oh yeah, just
okay, and I mean
followers.
Exactly, the followers. Just like we just said, the trend protesters,
right?
And people who have absolutely no idea what they're protesting and everything, but somebody put something on Twitter to say, we're all meeting it together at this particular mall and they're like that for this particular thing, and they have absolutely no clue, but because Day is planning on going,
right?
It's like we want to be a part of that. And that's what I just thought was just really interesting, where it's saying wait, you're trying to say that because a person is patriots, like they're getting lower levels of information. Now, I consider myself a patriot, and I take the time to actually listen. And whether you're for what I believe in or you're not, but I take the time to actually listen, make sure that I'm truly informed. And if there's something I don't know, I'll say, hey, I don't know.
Right.
That's the way things are supposed to be going. But, I found that it was really, really just interesting with that. It's like, okay, I think that's totally off. But it gets better, people. So the other one that was really interesting about that, particularly number 9, it says there's an uncritical allegiance of any sort may also encourage the perpetuation of ignorance.
That's a daily occurrence.
Yeah.
I mean, stupid exists all around us.
Exactly. I guess Forrest Gump was on to something, huh?
Yeah, he was.
So the next one I thought was interesting was number 6, and it says, makes censorship acceptable. Okay. Now the article goes on and starts to mention about the Alien and Sedition Acts of 1798. So for those of you guys who are who aren't familiar with that, now basically what the Alien and Sedition Acts of 1798 basically restricted speech critical against the government.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm thinking that when they're trying to say patriotism makes censorship acceptable, I'm going to have to disagree. Because
that's never acceptable.
I
I mean, you're censoring free speech essentially at that point, right?
Right.
And we did cover that in one of our previous episodes. But, in this context, yeah, I mean, it's still free speech. It's spoken by stupid people.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest, right?
Call them like it is.
Yeah. I mean, yes, stupid people are allowed to speak. But this notion of speaking critical or, being lumped in with a specific group just makes no sense.
Yeah, it really does. And the thing is that the reason why I disagree with this, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen it too, is just because, we're seeing it all over social media. I mean, it's like, whether it's YouTube or anything like that, I mean, it's like, if you say something that is completely against the narrative,
right,
they shut you off. I was telling Tim about a show that I watch on the pretty regularly, and I don't think that the host got 2 minutes into trying to explain the main topic of their episode before that little orange screen came up where it's saying, "Oh, due to such and such policies," and like that. I mean, she didn't even get to explain it, and it was like Sarah Gonzalez, and also it's like she of the News and Why It Matters,
right?
And so she didn't even get the chance to explain what the fucking topic was about. It's like, because it's like you feel like you got some pimple-faced kid sitting in his backyard, with his hand just 2 inches away from the red button, like, is she gonna say something? Is she gonna say something? No, here we go. Shut it off. It's like that. Nope, sounds too much like I mean, it's just crazy.
I don't follow. So on Twitter, again, or X or however we pronounce it, at UnWoke the Show. Go check us out. Under our notifications, Alyssa Milano. Now, we don't follow Alyssa Milano.
No.
And it has nothing against Miss Alyssa Milano. We just don't follow her. It's interesting. She has a tweet out there that says, "I have something to say. It's going to offend some people. I'm okay with that. Let's all get uncomfortable and let's grow."
Now you're turning around? Wasn't she one of the first bastards out there to sit there and go like, oh, well, you can't say this and this? Like,
hey.
Like, really?
Yep. Now, she's speaking with regards to this Israel Solidarity March. I don't know what it all is, and I'm not going to click on to see what the rest of it. I just thought it was interesting that she had to preface her response with, "I have something to say, and it's going to offend some people."
Okay. You shouldn't have to be able to say that. Yeah, I mean, you should be able... I mean, so I'm sorry, we live in the United States of America where so you're able to have the freedom of speech, and also it's the First Amendment. Let me repeat that. It's the First Amendment.
And so people probably out there that will be tuning into this episode are asking, why is he talking about Alyssa Milano when I thought this was nationalism versus patriotism? And it gets to the heart of patriotism. Mm-hmm. Right?
Mm-hmm. It does.
Being able to speak and say that I'm proud of this country. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't have to say, and Alyssa Milano shouldn't have to say, "I have something to say. It's going to offend some people." Right? You shouldn't. You and I should be able to walk down the street, Rich. We're talking, having a good time. We've got our American flag T-shirts on, and we can say, "I love our country."
Right.
Is the potential for backlash from some special snowflake who thinks patriotism and nationalism are essentially the same thing? Yeah. Do we care? No. But we're not going to preface it with, "I have something to say."
And that's why the UnWoke Show started.
Exactly. And so I think this gets to the heart of nationalism, and I like this statement. It says, "Nationalism generally has a negative connotation. It's used for political ideologies and movements that a more extreme and exclusionary love of one's country at the expense of foreigners, immigrants, and even people in a country who aren't believed to belong in some way, often racial and religious grounds. And I think that statement is important because we have a 2024 GOP candidate who was former president, who ran on this very notion of nationalism, preached by people like Steve Bannon.
Okay.
Right? I mean, the 2024 GOP frontrunner has even said, I'm going to close the borders to Islamic folks and everything already, even though, I don't think he's technically on the campaign trail, or maybe he is on the campaign.
Donald Trump has, technically he has been speaking, and also he just has not been at any of the debates.
Yeah.
And also, I think at some point he's going to have to be.
Right, but this is his platform, right? Nationalism.
You mean because they use the term "Make America Great Again"?
Well, but that term has been used previously by Bill Clinton and other presidents.
Right.
But when you hear him speak, and when he was president originally, he did have a travel ban in place from certain Arab nations.
Oh yeah, he did that I think in the first week and a half. of his administration.
And wanting to build the wall and keeping people out and stuff like that. He ran on that. Right? Yep. Very centrist, very nationalist, almost autocratic views, if you will, right?
Now, here's the question I need to ask her, which has nothing to do with Trump, and also, but Justin, when we talk about the borders and stuff like that, and also, how can that be seen between that being nationalist and being part of the oath where it says you're going to protect the sovereignty of the United States of America? How's the difference?
How is it different that I'm going to protect the sovereignty of this country, but yet we're going to allow people into our country? Is that what you're...
Well, the thing is that, we have what's called the rule of law. You and I have discussed before. So if there's a problem also dealing with the borders of our country, it is the president's job, its obligation to make sure that we're protecting that in every way, shape, and form.
Sure.
So if someone runs on that, why would people, or any president, I don't care if it's Trump or not, and also, but why would people put that down because he's doing exactly that, but then want to tag nationalism and then make it sound like it might be racist or anything like that? Why is that? Because
I think in his instance, that's his platform is nationalism. We have border issues. The U.S. has a legitimate immigration problem.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. That needs to be addressed. Because, it's flat out, if you go by what the media and how it's being spun or portrayed or anything like that, right? It is pretty much Swiss cheese, if not just full on open. And we're seeing this massive flood, and
which is also affecting U.S. taxpayers' dollars now. In fact, where it's already been shown to where just to be able to educate illegal immigrants, we're looking at over several $100 million
right
in U.S. taxes.
And so I think this notion of nationalism is what's appealing to a broader base right now, because we're like, hey, wait a minute, what about us?
Yes.
But it's not just the GOP. When Hawaii was having all that horrible storms, right?
Man, the residents of Hawaii,
state of emergency, right?
Whew.
Where was President Biden? Where did he go first?
Where'd he go?
He went to Ukraine. Yeah. Ukraine outranked our own
citizens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to kick a man while he's down, Ukraine was getting billions of dollars in aid.
Yeah.
Every single Hawaiian that was impacted by this these storms, natural disaster, whatever you want to call it, $700 a person.
700. Okay, so let me get it straight. We're sending, say, at this point in time, we probably sent what, say, $3 billion.
Oh, it's got to be. I would say.
Okay, I would say.
What is it? It's got to be 3 to 4 times that. I think.
Okay.
I think there's legislation out there that's Ukraine would get another. Is it another 6 billion?
The Biden administration's done this at least 5 or 6 times now.
Yeah.
So I think I'm way off.
And now they're wanting to throw out or throw aid over to the Israel, right? And I think the total budget that would be split between Israel and Ukraine is like $16 billion. That House and Senate Democrats Democrats and Republicans on both sides are trying, to get some sort of aid package in place, but yet, in order to fund that package, they want to gut the IRS and the aid that would go to the IRS and stuff like that, right? I mean, whatever your thoughts are on.
So basically, what you're trying to tell me is that we're looking at somewhere between $12 to $14 billion that have gone to Ukraine over the course of the last year. And meanwhile, while that's going on, we had a national emergency that happened in the great state of Hawaii.
Yep.
And the only thing that this government could do was give Hawaiians who were affected $700 a person.
Yeah, it took him 3 weeks to get there, if I remember.
3 weeks.
If I recall correctly, and when his motorcade was going through, he was getting booed.
Oh, you know what it was? That one lady who was from Hawaii, do you remember see that video where she was going off where that thing went viral?
Yeah.
She was highly pissed to her, which, by the way, and also I find it very funny, and for those of you guys who are part of UnWoke Nation Award, so out there in the state of Hawaii, we realized so that when you win in the last election, everything, 63% of your actual state's votes went to this president. Think about it.
Yeah. I would like to think that I'm somewhere in the middle between patriotism and nationalism, whatever that middle is. I love this country. I think it's the greatest country on the planet.
Mm-hmm. America.
Yeah. But do we have problems in our own house?
Oh, yeah, man.
That should be addressed ahead of other countries, other issues? Yeah, I mean, should we be shoring up our immigration policy? Should we be shoring up our border? I mean, absolutely. Should we be fighting, looking at ways to fight the fentanyl crisis that's taking place, right? I mean, if you, depending on how you view the stories that are coming out of Philadelphia and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got people just
standing all drooped over. I mean, it's like
terrible.
I mean, it is like Zombie Nation in Philly.
Yeah,
it is absolutely crazy. So, and then we go back to what you and I were talking about earlier today. I mean, now when we talk about our borders or the fentanyl and the amount of violence, stuff like that. I mean, look at our leaders. I don't care what party you're part of.
Yeah,
I mean, it is a crap storm. So,
and then you go out to the left coast and San Francisco,
the
shit show that it is, but somehow Gavin Newsom, because the leader of China, what is it, Jinping,
Chairman Ping, or
is coming to and has been meeting with our president, and Newsom has been touting, we're cleaning up San Francisco and stuff, and we're not just doing it just because we've got a major political leader. Or a major leader coming to the great state of California. I mean, what they do, just drive through San Francisco with a bulldozer and collect all the poor and the shit and stuff on the street and shove them into. I mean, I don't know what you would shove it into.
I mean, whatever they were doing. I mean, it's like, you and I saw the picture, before we got on the show today. And so, I mean, I'm sorry, I saw so many Chinese flags were sitting on the sidewalk and people standing there. So I thought I'm like, I'm sorry, was I transported to to Beijing?
Yeah,
or something like that. What just happened?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the left coast.
Yep.
But it gets back again to this sense of believing in your country and demonstrating patriotism. It's almost almost frowned upon in a way.
It is.
Right, and that's sad because you're viewed as a nationalist, or you're viewed as extreme, or whatever. And again, it gets back to how patriotism is getting, almost absorbed into the term nationalism, and it's...
Well, just even the thing you're saying, what you just got done saying, Tim, the fact that you believe, you said, hey, I believe America is the greatest country in the world. People can hear that word, and people who want to intertwine this and they'll sit there and say, well, how could you say something like that? Okay, so we already know the definition of somebody who's extremely proud of their country. Why does that have to be seen as being a bad thing? If you don't like that, don't watch the Olympics.
Yeah, do you want to... If the United States isn't the greatest country on the planet, tell me another place that is. Is it Russia? No. Mm-hmm. North Korea? No.
Mm-hmm. What would you say?
Venezuela?
Yeah.
No.
According to statistics, where they were saying that Venezuela probably has the most patriotic country, with us being second to being the United States. And also, but if I understand correctly, we're looking at some of these caravans who are coming up through the border, and I'm pretty sure the majority of them are not just Mexican.
Yeah.
Okay? So we got all types of countries, Nicaragua, and like I said, Honduras and stuff like that. Gee, we must be a pretty damn good country if they're willing to put their lives on the line, like that. So possibly, starvation and hydration, possible rape for girls and all this other stuff. We must be a pretty damn good country.
Yeah.
That, that they're willing to...
Do you want to go to India? Nope.
Do I want to go to Bangladesh? Nope. But people want to come to America. And also, but the point being, is just saying that there's so many people out there who are trying and willing to put risk their own lives to come here. We must be a pretty darn good country.
Yeah.
For people who want to do that.
There are, you see articles on people talking about quality of life and stuff, and I look at that and I'm like, you can love your country and not everything is gonna be perfect.
Right.
But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, we just have some things in our own house that we need to fix.
Yes.
And it's okay for those things to come first, mm-hmm, over sending aid to a third world country, Ukraine, right?
That's never going to pay us back.
No, that's simply, well, you know what? I'm not even sure what that's about anymore, because Russia's surrounded by NATO, and I don't want to get down. I don't want to get down this rabbit hole of Ukraine and, mm-hmm, and NATO and stuff like that, right? But again, it's to your point that we're donating money other places, but we're not fixing our own house.
Yep.
And that's the rub right there. That's the issue that I have.
Why are we borrowing sugar from our next door neighbor? We can open up the cabinet in the kitchen.
Yep. I agree with you.
Pretty plain and simple.
Yep.
Good. All right, guys. Well, hey, we would love to hear from you on this subject. And also, what are your thoughts on patriotism and nationalism? Do you feel like there is an intertwining or so? Or, just let us know. It's like, what's your thought of this? Are you having that maybe situation like that of people maybe putting you down a word because maybe you do consider yourself patriotic or something like that? Definitely reach out to us at feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Again, at feedback@unwoketheshow.com. We would love to be able to hear from you. Tim, this was a great show, man. Love hearing your advice and all your notes, and also, man, definitely a great show out in the can, as they say.
Hey, man, as always, Rich, it was a pleasure. Again, Unwoke Nation, as always, stay unwoke and have a good evening.
All right, guys, take care.